So say you're me and you're in math class, not really focusing on vectors or whatever your teacher is talking about. Instead, you're thinking about robot arms and video game spider legs, or at least something similar. The important thing is that whatever you're thinking about involves computers and moving limbs. You might find a problem. How do you take a limb that follows some special rules and make its end touch a specific point? Let's say the rules are it's made of a bunch of points connected by lines. The lines can't grow longer or shorter, otherwise the bones would break. And there's one point that can't move. This is like the hip or the shoulder or something. All you want to do is make the end of the limb move to the right spot, but every time you move things around, one of your rules is broken. This is a problem called inverse kinematics, or IK. We can call all of the middle points joints and the end points end effectors. End effectors is too long of a name though, so I'm going to call the end that can't move the root and the end that can move the end. We then have one more point, which is where we want the end to go. This is the target. A bunch of fancy people have come up with all sorts of ways to get the end to the target, but my favorite is called FABRIK. FABRIK means forwards and backwards reaching inverse kinematics. I really love FABRIK because it's a really fun solution to a pretty complex problem. It works by first moving the end to the target. This breaks one of the rules. We can't stretch the line between our points. To fix this, a line's drawn from the end's new position to the joint before it. That joint is moved along the line until it's the right distance from the end. This stretches the line before that joint, but we can just repeat this line drawing and moving process all the way back to the root. Once the root is reached, another rule is broken. The root shouldn't move. To fix that problem, the root is moved back to its correct position. Then, to preserve line lengths, we do the line drawing and moving in the opposite direction all the way back to the end. After this, we have moved the end closer to the target and we aren't breaking any rules. If we want it even closer, we can do another pass going from the end to the root and back again. Every time this is repeated, the end gets a little bit closer. This works for limbs with any number of joints. There's one strange part about it though. If this is supposed to be used in spider legs, then it doesn't seem correct that the joints can go all the way around. We don't want our legs to break. This is because our joints have no angle constraints. To stop our knees from turning inside out, we need to start with two angles, one for how far left it can turn and one for the right. Then, whenever we're moving our joints, we can check to see if this would be outside of those angles. If it is, we can just move the point so that it isn't outside anymore and continue like nothing happened. Adding angle constraints can make it a bit harder to get the end to the target. Without them, we're guaranteed to find a solution if there is one, but with the constraints, sometimes we'll get a little bit stuck. It's not that much of a problem because it's a bit rare, but if you want to fix it, you can have the limb turn a little randomly whenever it can't find a solution, so that it might get into a better starting position. Here's that whole process, except for the angle constraints, with more mathy, computery language. Start with points, each point having a position P. Connect the points with lines, each with a length L. Move the end point to the target position. Subtract the position of the end from the position of the point before the end. Normalize the vector and multiply it by the connecting line length. Repeat this until you get all the way down to the root. To save a bit of time, you don't actually move the root because the next step would just move it back to where it was before. Now you can go back up the limb and move everything back. Repeat that whole process until your point is close enough to the target. There are some more topics to explore in the world of IK, like how to do it in 3D and some weird types of limbs, but that will have to wait. I think it's time to make some spiders.